have shaky video somewhere of Jennifer Brunner when she was pursuing an election reform package that would have closed the polls earlier. Before, when Jennifer Brunner was in office, she had a press conference. She was talking about an election reform package she was supporting. I believe it would have closed the polls on the Friday or Saturday, just for practical reasons, because from what I hear, the local election officials are less worried about getting fired than they are about just the practical, pulling off an election and trying to have early voting and handle the election on Tuesday. When did the Democratic position change on the early voting days? And, what about the practical considerations on early voting?
There's law that was supported by Republicans and Democrats that provided access to the polls for active duty military and families. Same-day voting, in person. The federal courts provided guidance to the Secretary of State that implementation could not exclude other families. It was a due process and equal protection claim. The federal courts and the appellate courts held in our favor as plaintiffs in the case. I was in the party was criticized in that effort because my Republican friends were suggesting that we were trying to cut off voting for military. Quite the opposite. We believe that families of military, veterans, others who served our country in the capacity of first responders, everyday Ohioans should have the same access as everybody else. I don't know what the former Secretary of State Brunner did or didn't do in years past. I can tell you unequivocally that the law provides that early vote occur through Monday. And as a former county commissioner, a current state representative, it is distressing, to say the least, that local elected officials are claiming that they're too busy. The very foundation of the boards of election is to provide for the vote. And if the funds aren't there to provide it, then John Kasich and his Republican friends in the legislature shouldn't go about the process of constantly cutting those local government funds. And the Secretary of State should be here arm in arm with us saying we ought to invest more to provide access to the franchise, not less.
Right. And just to add a final point on that, just to say amen to that, the boards of elections exist to administer elections. So it's ludicrous to think that members would say we don't have enough time to do our jobs. But far too often we think about voting in terms of convenience for workers of the boards of elections or administrators. We need to see this through the lens of the voter. What is the right, just, and good thing to do for the voter? Not making it convenient for government, but convenient for the voters. And that has been lost here. And all of these lawsuits that have to be filed, not only are they not efficient, they take a whole lot of time, a whole lot of money, a whole lot of effort. And in the meantime, who loses? The voters lose. And so it is high time that members of the General Assembly and the current Secretary of State put the voters at the top of the list for once, and not the convenience and comfort of other folks, the voters. That's why we all exist. That's why we have our jobs here today. It's because of the voters. Let the people vote.